9 hikers, 1 frozen mountain, and a mystery that the Soviet Union buried for 67 years. It was February 1959. A group of 9 experienced hikers set out into the northern Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They were students and engineers. They had done this before. They knew what they were doing. They were never supposed to disappear. But here's what investigators found 3 weeks later. The tent had been sliced open from the inside. Every single boot and coat had been left behind, and the hikers, all 9 of them, had run barefoot into a blizzard in -30 degrees Celsius. Why would anyone do that? When the bodies were finally found, the injuries made no sense. Fractured ribs, a crushed skull, 2 hikers with no eyes, 1 with no tongue, and several wearing clothing that tested positive for radiation. The Soviet government looked at all of this, and their official conclusion? A compelling natural force. Then they sealed the files for 67 years. What were they hiding? My name is Adam, and tonight on Declassified Minds, we're going inside the Dyatlov Pass incident, because in 2026, something changed. Soviet-era classified documents were leaked. A brand new theory emerged. And for the first time in 67 years, we may finally know what really happened on that mountain. Stay with me, because this story gets stranger before it gets clearer. Let's start with who these people were. Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old, an engineering student, an experienced mountaineer. He had led expeditions before. His team trusted him completely. On January 23, 1959, the group set out from the city of Sverdlovsk. Their goal was to reach the summit of Otorten Mountain. It was a Grade 3 expedition, the highest difficulty level in Soviet mountaineering. But here's where it gets interesting. One member, Yuri Yudin, had to turn back early. A chronic illness flared up. He said goodbye to his friends on January 28th. He was the only one who came home alive. The last diary entries from the group described difficult snow conditions, but nothing alarming. Nothing that suggested what was coming. On February 26th, a search party found the tent, and what they saw stopped them cold. The tent was still standing. All the food was inside. All the equipment was inside. All 9 pairs of boots left behind. The tent had been cut open from the inside with a knife, a long, deliberate cut, like someone needed to get out right now. The footprints in the snow told the next part of the story. 9 people had walked, not run, calmly down the slope, in socks, in bare feet, into the dark, into the cold. And that's not even the strangest part. The first 5 bodies were found scattered across the snow. 2 of them were near the remains of a small fire. Their hands were burned, as if they had reached directly into the flames trying to stay warm. One appeared to have bitten through his own knuckle. Something had terrified them beyond reason. The last 4 bodies weren't found until May, after the snow melted. They had been buried under 4 meters of snow in a ravine. These 4 had better clothing than the others. They had clearly tried to survive. But the injuries on these bodies were the ones that changed everything. 1 hiker had a fractured skull. 2 had massive chest trauma, broken ribs on both sides simultaneously. The kind of force required to do that, according to the medical examiner, was comparable to a car crash. But there were no external wounds, no bruising on the skin, just internal destruction. And then there were the 2 hikers with no eyes. One of them had no tongue either. The Soviet investigators had no explanation. The official report said the hikers died from a compelling natural force. The case was classified. The files were sealed, and the families were told to stop asking questions. But here's where it gets weird. Several items of clothing from the group tested positive for radiation. Not enormous levels, but detectable. 2 years earlier, there had been a nuclear disaster nearby. The Kishtim incident. one of the worst nuclear accidents in Soviet history. The government had covered that up too. And there was something else. On the same night the hikers died, another group of hikers 50 kilometers away reported seeing strange orange spheres in the sky. The military reported them too. The meteorology service reported them too. None of this was included in the official investigation. The lead investigator in 1959, Lev Ivanov, admitted decades later that he had been ordered to close the case. He personally believed the flying spheres had something to do with the deaths. For decades, theories multiplied. A Yeti, the KGB infrasound weapons, military testing, an avalanche, a katabatic wind. In 2019, Russia reopened the investigation. In 2020, they announced a conclusion, a slab avalanche. In 2021, Swiss scientists from ETH Zurich published a model showing exactly how a small, delayed snow slab could cause the kind of internal injuries found on the bodies. No external bruising, just crushing internal force, like a car crash with no car. It was the most scientifically credible explanation yet, but not everyone accepted it. And that's not even the strangest part. In March 2026, a new theory emerged from independent researchers. They proposed that on the night of February 1st to 2nd, the Soviet military had launched an R-12 ballistic missile from a test site near the region. The launch failed, and the rocket released a cloud of nitric acid fog that drifted directly toward the mountain. Nitric acid at those concentrations causes immediate skin and lung damage. It would explain the desperate escape from the tent. It would explain the orange spheres in the sky. It would explain why the Soviet government locked the files away for 67 years. They weren't hiding a natural disaster. They were hiding a mistake. Then in February 2026, leaked documents from a KGB archive in Yekaterinburg added one more layer to the story. The documents included a classified memo asking whether the mountain's wind conditions could generate infrasound, acoustic pressure that humans can't hear, but that can cause panic, disorientation, and terror. The answer in the memo, redacted until now, was possibly. The Soviet government had known about this possibility in 1959. They had studied it, and they had buried it. So what actually happened on that mountain? Here is what the evidence now suggests. Sometime in the early hours of February 2nd, the hikers were asleep in their tent. A delayed slab of snow began pressing down on them, slowly, silently. At the same time, katabatic winds may have triggered infrasound that caused disorientation and rising panic. The hikers woke up. They felt the weight above them. They couldn't find the tent entrance in the dark, so they cut their way out. Outside, in -30 degrees, the infrasound and the cold and the dark turned rational engineers into terrified animals. They ran downhill, the correct response to an avalanche. But they never made it back. The four in the ravine had the worst of it. They fell into a snow-covered stream. The snow collapsed on them. The force was like a car crash, with no external bruise to show for it. The eyes and tongue, scavenging animals. In May, after months under the snow. And the Soviet government? They had a rocket test to protect, a nuclear program to protect, a reputation to protect. So they wrote 4 words in an official report, a compelling natural force, and sealed the truth away for 67 years. 9 experienced hikers, a mountain that governments feared, a Cold War secret buried in the snow. The mystery of Dyatlov Pass is not about Yetis or UFOs. It's about what happens when a government decides its secrets are worth more than the truth.
And that is a story that never gets old.
If this kept you up tonight, drop a comment below. What do you think really happened? And if you want more declassified stories like this, subscribe to Declassified Minds. New cases every week. The truth is always stranger than the cover-up.